Hello everybody. We are here live today to discuss Babel by R.F. Kuang. Wait a minute for people to arrive, but I'm excited to talk about this book with everybody. I'm curious to hear other people's thoughts. I've read a bunch of reviews. I've watched some other videos just to see what other people thought, but I really enjoyed this one. I'm going to set this behind me because it's heavy. It's a large book. I don't know. Can you still see that? No, because now it's gone. Never to return to us. It's behind the couch. That's the kind of day I'm having, where I throw my book behind the furniture. Anyway, that's fine. So let's talk about my rating, which, considering I just threw the book, you might think I didn't like it, but that's not true. I gave it 5 stars. It's I would say 4.5 to 5 stars. It's really riding the line for me. It's almost a 5-star. And I'll get more into that later. But I would say that I really, really enjoyed the experience of reading this book. I really need to read more dark academia because this is not a genre that I've really read much. I don't know if I've read any. I'm trying to think. I've been thinking about it since yesterday, trying to remember if I've read anything that's considered dark academia. And I don't think I ever have before. This might be my first foray into that genre. And I don't know why I waited this long. I'm definitely going to need to pick up more things in that genre. But I really enjoyed this. I really liked the setting a lot. I really liked the atmosphere of the story. I loved the amount of work and research that went into it. I just found it to be a really, really interesting story. Again, I've never read any. I have nothing to compare this to, I don't think. The closest I've gotten to dark academia is there was a show on Netflix called The Order, which I really liked. And that would probably fall into dark academia territory. It's set on a college. It's got those underground orders and things, and has very Buffy vibes. But that's all I have to compare this to. So I definitely need recommendations. But I really like the story a lot. I gave it 5 stars, but it's really somewhere between 4.5 and 5, because there were a few little things that I didn't love, but still really liked. So I can't fault it for that. So let's see, what do I want to talk about? And if you are here, jump in the comments. I don't know if that's working or not, because sometimes it doesn't. Let me go here. Let's see. So yeah, like I said, I really like the setting a lot. I also found the magic system. Hi, Elsa. I really found the magic system to be fascinating. The way that she created the system, I loved that. I don't know. I'm a word person. I love reading about language and that, but I've never learned another language outside of very mild dabbling in Hebrew growing up. But I found all of that to be really, really interesting. And the way that the magic worked with the different words, I just thought that was all so cool. I really, really liked that. I thought the pacing was a little bit off-putting at first. I know that this was a difficult book. I don't always read slower books. I get a little bit bogged down, and I almost did at the beginning of the book. I had to listen to the audiobook to keep me moving through the story, because I would just lose the pacing and stall out because the chapters are so long. I really dislike when books have really long chapters. This is one of those rare exceptions where I was willing to stick it out because the story itself was interesting enough. Um, but the second half of the book moved so much faster. So for me, it overall worked. But I do wish the first half could have been a little faster. I almost think that this book would have worked better as a duology, where we have like their college experience and like discovering Hermes and that kind of thing in the first book, and then the second book could have been the whole revolution thing. Like I feel like that might have fixed the pacing, because it felt like two different books. The first half was really slow and the second half was really fast, so it was kind of jarring, I think. But still, like I don't know, I still enjoyed it. Let's see. Talking about characters, personally, while I enjoyed Robin's perspective, I don't know that he made it for the best protagonist. I almost feel like Victoire's story could have been better if she were the one telling the story, if we were following her throughout the whole thing, because I found her a little more compelling. But we didn't get that. I also kind of wished that we could have had multiple POVs, because those little interlude chapters were so good, and I wanted there to be more of them. I wanted more backstory on all of these characters. I wanted more time spent in their heads. I just think that that would have been better, but I don't know. Robin was fine. Robin just wasn't the most interesting character in the book. So I don't know. I found him to be somewhat of a weird choice to be our protagonist when we had Victoire right there being a lot more interesting. But let's see what else. And also, like, it would have been cool to get a chapter from Griffin's perspective, because I wanted to know more about him. I also feel like having multiple POVs might have gone a little bit better, just to help build some of the relationships that Griffin were as close as they needed to be for the emotional payoff we get later in the story, because I didn't feel as that they were as connected as they needed to be. But I did enjoy the dynamics of the friend group. Like I enjoyed reading about their time together at Oxford. I enjoyed like seeing their relationships on the page. I just wish there had been a little bit more of them being friends. I don't know. I don't know that I'm explaining it, because the first half moves so slow, but also there's not enough interactions. It's more of like the author telling me that these were friends instead of showing me that they were friends, if that makes sense, especially with Letty, because I found their devotion to her odd. The fact that none of them once stopped to think, like, is she trustworthy? Is she my friend for real? Like, I don't know. Did anyone else feel that vibe? Like, that was the, like, why I can't go a full 5 stars. Like, why I'm kind of hesitant, because I found there wasn't enough there for me to find their friendships that believable. I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but I did. Let's see, what do I want to talk about? And Professor Lovell, I feel like, was a perfect villain. Like, he was awful. And so, like, the racism and that part of the story was really hard to read, and I think it was done very well. It really made sense within the story. I never felt like it was gratuitous, but it was off-putting and kind of upsetting to read. But I found his character to be really good. I'm like reading off my notes. But Letty, I feel like Letty is a whole separate story to talk about. Like, I thought she was written extremely well. I thought what the author did with that was very well done. Making her into this like white feminist woman who just put herself above everyone else all the time. And the way she kept looking for ways around the whole like revolution, I found that to be really well done, really realistic. Yes. Oh, Elsa. Yes. I wanted to say something about that too. I didn't get there yet, but yes, Remy and Robin definitely had some kind of like feelings for each other. It just was never mentioned. I kind of wish they went a little bit further with that, but I can see why they didn't, because I imagine that between the busyness of like studies and all of that, it would have been hard. Plus the time period. I don't know. I'm sure the author had her reasons for not going full in on that, but it definitely felt like it was there. And yeah, I do find it a little bit weird that there was never any romance within the group at all, because like they were so close. But also that speaks again to Letty's reason for murder, for killing Remy, just the idea that this brown man rejected her. So I can see that. But especially if he rejected her because he had feelings for Robin. So maybe. But I do wish they went there. This book was definitely sadder than I expected going in. Like I wasn't expecting to cry reading this book. I don't know why. I just didn't see that happening. But yeah, this was way more sad than I expected going in. But I loved the ending. I am a sucker for a sad ending. I enjoy feeling pain, I guess. I like when stories hurt me, and this one definitely did. Let's see. Also, I wanted to talk about this book's tagline, which I dropped behind the furniture, so I cannot read it. But the tagline was about the necessity of violence. And I should have known going in right there, like that would have made this a sad story. That's where we were heading. And I kind of knew that's where we were heading, but also for some reason didn't see it being that bleak. But, and this is the other reason why I'm like hovering between 4.5 and 5. What good did this do? To me, I would have liked a little bit more payoff on what they did. And I kind of understand that the author's trying to say that colonialism is ongoing. It's not something that happened and it's over now. It goes on forever, which is also pretty bleak to consider. But also, like, this is a fantasy version of the world. Could we not have had just like something come out of this? Because it kind of felt like they did it for nothing, which is even sadder. But I don't know. That's just me. I didn't really need a happy ending necessarily, but just some inkling that this made a difference would have been nice. I mean, it was good that Victoire made it out. I was so happy that Victoire, because her speech, oh my gosh, her speech about wanting to live made me feel like Buffy season 1. I'm going to refer to Buffy with like every book, I think, but like Buffy season 1, where she's giving that speech to Giles about how the prophecies is said that she would be killed by the master and she doesn't want to die. She's just 16. Like she wants to live. And it kind of felt like that. So that hit me. Victoire just talking about how badly she wanted to live and didn't have the same, like, I shouldn't be here feelings that Robin did. And so like, I loved that. And then Robin, of course, I felt so sad for him. The whole book, I felt bad for him. The way that he was separated from his culture, the way that it was like almost indoctrinated into him that his people are dumb and stupid and he has to overcome this like was so sad to read. And like the fact that we never know his name bothers me. Like, I want to know what his name is, his real name. To me, it was sad that he had to choose an English name for himself, like, and never be called by his real name again. Like, that was very sad to me. But yeah, I do wish that the violence of it all, that the tragic ending, that we could know that it meant something. That's like all I wanted, really, was just to know that it was going to be okay in the end. That like this would maybe not fix everything, but maybe like go a little ways towards fixing things. Would have been nice. So yeah. So how did anyone else feel about the ending? Like, I have like mixed feelings on it. Like, I want to love the ending. I wanted to feel the pain of it, the happiness that Victoire survives, though. Like, I want more. Like, I almost wish that we could have a sequel to. I don't think that a sequel is in the works. I don't think that's a thing that's going to happen. And I don't know that this was meant to have a sequel. I feel like this was meant to be a standalone story, but like, I want to know what happened next. How long does it take for them to rebuild Babel? And how realistic would that rebuilding be? Like, I don't know. I want to know what happens to Victoire. I want to know like how she survives and moves on with her life, knowing that this was what happened. I don't know. I have lots of feelings. I definitely need to read more Dark Academia. This was a like really, really well written book, and I want more of it. I need more. And I feel like this is the perfect time of year for it. Back to school and like dark undercurrents in college, and I don't know. I really enjoyed that. So yeah. Is there anything we didn't talk about? Let's see. I did find discussion questions. I understand that. Yeah, okay. This Narrow Road says, I think the sense of hopelessness in the end was the point. No matter how much the characters fought, nothing changed. Yes, I know that. I rationally, I understood the reasoning, but it was painful to read, and I really wanted, like, it is still like a little bit of a fantasy. Like, I would have liked to see something, but I understand. I know that we're still fighting the same fight. Like, I know. I don't know. It would have been nice to have like just. I know it's not going to fix everything, and they set that up really well. But also, I felt sad. You know, I don't know. Let's see. I did find some questions and things that I thought would be interesting. It says the author includes a foreword which explains how she warped some of the actual Oxford to fit her fictional narrative and alternate universe. Was it necessary for her to provide the foreword? When you read about a place you know, do changes or inaccuracies trip you up? I don't think it would have mattered to me because I have never been there, and she could have made it whatever she wanted, and I would have no idea that she did. But I can understand too, like, if I was familiar with a place, I do think if it was written in a setting where I am familiar with it, where I've been there, I've walked those streets, like to see it weird would probably not necessarily be off-putting, but I could see it being very odd. It might pull me out of a story. I don't know. I don't think I've ever read a book in a setting where I'm that familiar. Nobody writes books about like my small town, but like, I suppose for me it wouldn't matter. I don't know enough about it. So let's see. Okay, so the book covers a lot of academic tropes like entomology, power dynamics, and international trade. Also, the world building with the silver magic and some action sequences. of these three academic topics, magic and action, which would you have wanted more of and which would you have wanted less of? I actually think it was really well balanced. I'm not sure I would change any of that. I really enjoyed the entomology a lot. Like, it made me feel like I need to study more. Like, I don't really know as much as I want to know about these things. It almost made me want to start learning another language. If I could ever settle on a language to learn, like, I've never learned another language. It definitely made me want to, though. It also made me want to learn Latin. So I really liked the academic aspect of it. I really loved the magic system. I found that absolutely fascinating. Loved that. Don't know that we needed more of it. And I found like the action worked. I do think it would have been better spread out more in the book because I feel like the second half had all the action. Like, once they go to Canton, it was just like nothing but action nonstop after that. So I wish we could have had like a little bit more paced throughout the beginning. But I mean, I don't know that we needed more. I think we just needed it spread out better. But I found that I didn't really want to change much overall in the story. A little bit more with the friendship dynamics, maybe. But other than that, like, I found it worked really well for me. Let's see. Professor Lovell says to Robin, laziness and deceit are common traits among your kind. This is why China remains an indolent and backward country, while her neighbors hustle toward progress. You must resist the traits, Robin. You must learn to overcome the pollution of your blood. Ugh. And yet, Robin was also Lovell's blood son and half British. So what explains his cognitive dissonance on this topic? What explains it? I mean, obviously, he was just a terrible person. But, yeah, and like the way that Lovell like had to have a second son because he didn't think the first one came out as well as he should have was kind of the vibe I got. Like, why he was even having children in the first place. Was it like this experiment to like breed Chinese children that he could have become translated? Like, the whole thing felt so gross and icky. I did not like his character at all. Was super thrilled when he died. Like, I didn't like that. Like, I felt like he was written really well, but also awful. Like, not a fan. But then I guess that's what I'm supposed to feel. So, like, I guess it works. I don't know. Didn't enjoy him as a human. Did enjoy the fact that he was such a good villain and then murdered. Let's see. Oh, this is a good one. Consider Robin's story arc. Was it a matter of maturation and then radicalization, or was he simply a frog slowly boiling in the water who couldn't back down once it bubbled over? I found his storyline really interesting in that he really didn't seem to agree at all with Griffin until Griffin died. And then suddenly it was like a light bulb went on in his mind, and it was like, violence is the answer. So, like, I felt like I don't know. I kind of lean more towards frog in slowly boiling water because I don't know that it hit him until that moment that that was the only way out. But, like, I don't know. Like, I kind of wish Victoire, because I feel like she would have gotten there much faster. Like, I think she was kind of already there. Although she didn't 100% agree with the violence. What do we think about the actual revolution? Like, the way that happened with the strike and everything. I found it really interesting. I really enjoyed like seeing everyone kind of come together and work together to figure this out. But then the ending, I don't know. I knew Robin was going to die. Like, I knew Robin would die. I just felt that the whole story, like, that's where we were heading. I did not expect him to be like, and we all have to die. Like, and for everyone to be like, I guess, sure, I don't know, like that that's what like made it so bleak. That's what made me cry, like with all of them being like, okay, let's do it. Let's all destroy this tower and kill ourselves in the process. And that they were all willing to do so was really, really sad. But yeah. I mean, I agree, Elsa, that that was a turning point, but I don't think that Robin was 100% on board with violence at that point yet. I think he still thought that they could find a way to do this without resorting to violence. I think that the moment he realized that they were using violence against them, that the violence was going to happen to them, I think that was the moment when he went, okay, violence it is then. Because I think for the most of the story, he was still hoping to find another way. Um, so yeah, I think yes, I wondered about that too, Elsa. When they showed at the very beginning why you can't use translate with the bars and like what would happen if you did, I was like, okay, like that's we're gonna see it again. So yeah, I agree. I thought I didn't expect it to go exactly like it did, but I knew they were gonna use that again. Just like when Griffin explained why I can't remember the girl's name, why he'd murdered that one girl, and how he did it. I wondered if we'd see that again too. And isn't that the way that he killed his father? So yeah. Um, let's see. Says Robin lives a splintered life. He can pass as an Englishman, but he's also derided as a stupid Chinaman. He loves Babel, but also hates it. He appreciates the opportunities that Lovell gave him, but then Robin killed him in a fit of rage. How do you respond to Robin's inconsistencies? Discuss some of their causes. I don't know. It felt kind of natural in a way. That he would have so many inconsistencies. Like I understood, like loving this environment where he could have all these books and learn and do all this stuff, but also hating it because of what it meant. So I mean that I understood. And like loving the fact that he's had these opportunities because of Lovell, but also absolutely despising Lovell. Like yes, like I understood why he was. I don't know that I would say it was inconsistency. I think it was consistent. Like you can love learning and hate what an institution stands for. I guess. I mean, it was, and I could see why it was hard for him to realize how devoted he was to Babel, knowing what it meant. Um, yeah, I do wish we could have gotten more backstory with Griffin too about the woman that he killed. He explains it, but like also I want to know a little more. Um, and I wish we could have learned more about Hermes. Again, I felt like that part of the story was kind of rushed. I wish we could have had, like, again, I think this could have been two books. I think this could have been a duology, and then we could have gotten deeper into the layers of the story because I felt like there was so much going on. And I think there was a lot that only got touched on a little bit. Like, I would have loved to have more about Hermes and like what they had been doing and like how far back does it go? But yeah, this felt like it was almost too much for one book. It was a lot. And I almost think it would have made more sense to split it in half. But I don't know. I feel like if this ever gets adapted, if this was ever made into a movie, it would definitely be in two parts. Um, yeah. Ooh. I'm seeing this compared now. There's like a question here. Descriptions of the book compare it to a cross between Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, which I've had on my shelves forever. Like I've owned that book for probably like almost a decade, and I'm terrified to pick it up because it is so big. It's like a doorstop. It's this big. But I've always been curious about it. So now if it's like that compares to this somehow, I must read it. Has anyone read that? I don't know. Is it worth me picking up? I would definitely have to get the audiobook, probably the ebook too, because I don't know how to even begin to read a book that is that. It's literally like this big. It is enormous. Oh, but I am seeing also, it's also reminiscent of Les Miserables. Yes, absolutely. I could definitely feel like the whole barricade sequence in Les Miserables. Yes. That felt very, very much like Les Miserables to me. Victoire could be singing empty chairs at empty tables. Like I can feel that. What other literary references do you see in Babel? I don't know if I see any other ones just because I haven't read enough of that stuff. Like it's also compared to The Secret History, which I've never read. So like I definitely need to read more dark academia because that is a genre that I have not read from before. Ooh, bonus question. If you could get your hands on a clever bit of silverwork to help you with something in your everyday life, what would that be? Cleaning the house. I think I would like to figure out a way to do that. Keeping up with the housework is the bane of my existence. So like if silverworking was a real thing, some kind of like magic cleaning system would be nice. That would be useful. Okay, is there anything that we haven't touched on that we want to? I think I've covered pretty much everything. Yes. See, I feel like it's 2023. There should be an easier way to maintain a home. Like, why don't we have that? Why is magic not real? No. So yeah, I gave it 5 stars, but I'm still hovering between like a 4.5 and a 5, but like leaning towards a 5 because I found the book to be really, really well done. I appreciate the amount of research that went into it, the amount of like, I could feel the amount of love the author had for Oxford, for like the setting, for academia. Like I felt where the author was coming from, and I thought it was really well done. Beautiful book. I think I'm going to add it when I get to the level 11 update. I kind of feel like I want to include it there because I feel like it's such an important topic and such an important story overall. I think you could get a lot out of it too, studying it. So I definitely think I'm leaning towards doing that and adding it in somewhere. I don't know. I'll have to rearrange everything again and figure out how to fit it in, but I feel like it belongs there. So, and that would give me a chance to annotate because I did not annotate Babel as I was reading it because I realized very early on that if I do that, it's going to slow me down even more. And I did not think I had the time. So I decided just to read it and go just read the whole thing straight through. But I'm definitely on my reread. I'm going to be annotating and marking up the book a bit because there are some passages that I really wish that I'd stopped and marked because there was some really, really insightful, beautiful passages in the book. So definitely looking forward to my reread. So it is now September, and we are going to be reading Stone Blind this month by Natalie Haynes. I'm looking forward to this one a lot because I haven't read a good mythology retelling in a while. So, and this is the Medusa story, and I really enjoyed Natalie Haynes' other book, which I can never remember the name of, 1,000 Ships. So I really enjoyed 1,000 Ships, and I've been waiting to see what she would come out with next. And so pretty excited that it's Medusa, because that's a story that I've wondered why we don't have more Medusa books, more Medusa retellings. She's such a fascinating character in mythology. So we are reading this all September long. I'm going to be putting this into the Discord later today. So if anyone wants to get started now and start talking about it, you will be able to. It will be in the Discord this weekend. So looking forward to that. We only have 2 more books left. We have this one, and then we have our final book in October, which is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. So make sure you line up your copy of that. If you need to borrow it from the library, purchase it, whatever, because we'll be reading that in October, and that'll be it for 2023. I'm looking forward to planning out our next year of book club. So I'm going to be brainstorming all the things that I want to read next year with everybody. So stay tuned for like me putting up polls and things on Instagram and stuff, trying to figure out what we're reading next year. So thank you so much for coming today and talking about Babel with me. And thanks for reading along. And I will see you guys next time. Happy reading. Bye.